Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Burnham. I'm an account executive with Paper Trails. Chris Clough is usually the one conducting these sessions today, but Chris is occupied at today. So today you get me and you get Jonathan Johnson from Kasperzak Insurance. Today we're going to talk about workers' comp as you go. Workers' comp as you go is something that we really think is a great product. Workers' comp is obviously required for all employers in the state of Maine. So today we're going to cover a number of topics. Jonathan's going to talk about what workers' comp is, how is workers' comp calculated. We're going to talk about the pay-as-you-go models, how pay-as-you-go integrates with payroll, companies that Paper Trails currently integrates with, and what it takes to get set up. And we're going to address any of your questions. So with that, I am going to hand things off to Jonathan, and Jonathan is going to start talking to you guys about workers' comp.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate this opportunity. And for those of you that are taking your time to discuss this subject, I think you'll see some benefits because it's certainly a piece of coverage that all businesses at times overlook. So workers' comp insurance is a no-fault coverage that provides benefits to your employees in the event of a workplace injury or illness. And those expenses that potentially are incurred are listed here: lost wages, medical bills, rehabilitation, job retraining, disability benefits, etc. It is required in most states that businesses with at least one employee have workers' comp insurance. Some employers do wonder if they have to cover themselves, which they don't have to in specific to the state of Maine. I'm not sure of other states, but that certainly is optional. But certainly if you do have an employee, you are required to have the coverage. And from my standpoint, I would think that if you had an injury on the job, you would certainly want to see that employee taken care of and not be taking those expenses out of pocket. One of the add-ons of workers' comp that is really important, because your workers' comp generally does not cover for wrongful termination, discrimination, or harassment. So by adding this employee practices liability, as it's mentioned here, EPLI, it's going to give you that coverage so that you could have, in the event you need to hire lawyers to defend you for the potential lawsuit. And then the other piece is workers' comp. People are always wondering, how do we come up with these premiums? So there's an estimated payroll first. So you take the employee's hourly wages, for example, estimated weekly hours worked or biweekly, and then there's a code associated with that job function. So for example, if I'm a restaurant worker, I potentially would pay $1.80 per $100 of payroll. If I've got a higher risk type of position, such as a excavator operator, I'm going to pay, say, $6 per $100 of payroll. So once you multiply those out, you come up with an estimated annual payroll. Some employees do have employers do have multiple payroll, multiple codes. So a restaurant would only have typically one code, where a landscaping or excavation company would have multiple codes. One of the things that potentially you do run into is estimated payrolls. Because at the end of the year, the company does do a year-end audit, and if your estimate is too low or too high, there's potential costs associated with that, or in some cases refunds, but we find it's usually costs. So one of the things that we find the clients really like is the actual is an automated payment system, which you can do through your through your payroll company. So instead of depending on the estimated payroll, you take actual payroll. So your payroll company, such as Paper Trails, would report the wages to the insurance company, and you'd only be paying for what you actually paid for payroll. So year-end audits still do take place, but those amounts are usually very minimal, and we find our clients really appreciate that relationship that we develop with the payroll services along with the insurance carrier. So with that kind of wraps it up for me. I believe I'm going to turn it back to Jeff.
Yep. So thanks, John. So today, Paper Trails integrates with a lot of different workers' comp insurers. These are kind of the big ones that we see the most. Obviously, being in Maine, most of the businesses we see are with MEMIC, but we also see folks that are using Eastern Alliance, Acadia, Travelers, the Hartford, or SmartPay. Essentially, what we do is we process a payroll for you. We transmit wage information on basically on a weekly basis. We have team members here that their function is at the end of every day to make sure that those wage dollars get transmitted to the appropriate workers' comp insurer, and then they bill you a commensurate premium. The beautiful part of it is, your insurer always knows what those wages are, and in theory, you're being billed a correct premium amount. We like to think that this is a great cash flow tool and it makes your life a lot easier. So the keys to getting started as a business owner with your workers' comp is to, talk to your insurance agent, talk to them about pay-as-you-go models, see if your current workers' comp insurer offers that and what it looks like. Paper Trails will build out an integration at no cost. We believe this is a great cash flow tool, and it allows you to make sure you're paying that correct premium all the time. Also, we're big believers in creating labor and department allocation kind of tracking and reporting. So essentially what we do is we take your workers' comp codes, assign them to applicable departments and different types of job functions. And that way when we transmit the wage information over, it's transmitted with the correct coding. We work hard to make sure that that is correct because, we want to make sure that your workers' comp insurer is getting A, the correct information, but B, that we're tracking your employees in an appropriate manner for you that makes sense. So, that really kind of sums up the workers' comp piece here today. Couple side notes before we deal with questions at the end. So first, don't forget, the iSolve Go app is going away at the end of June. We're migrating everyone over to this wonderful new MyHR stuff. Functions, it's URL-based, functions just like an app. You can put it right on the home screen of your smartphone. Makes it really, really easy for you to review pay stubs, get your direct deposit information, request time off. Timekeeping integrates with it as well. And they can submit expense reimbursements that way as well. Next month, accounting for payroll, June 14th. Please be sure to sign up. Going to be a great session that Chris is going to facilitate for everyone. Want to thank Kasperzak Insurance. Want to thank Jonathan for taking his time today with us. And we're going to open this up and see if we have any questions at this time. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, and I'm not seeing any questions come through. So with that, we've got one that just popped in. How do we know what the class code amounts are for our employees?
Can we take that, Jeff?
Sure, John.
So in regards to this question, I'll repeat it again. This person wants to know what the class code amounts are for our employees. So that's going to depend on, so the class codes are developed by a company called NCCI. They oversee the workers' comp for the nation, and they come up with what the cost per 100 is for, say, a restaurant employee or a landscaper. So once you take that, if you take take that amount, that dollar amount, and you multiply that by the total annual payroll of that person, it's a cost per 100. You'll come up with what that amount is. Now, granted, there's other fees and other things built into it, so it's not going to be exact. But I'm happy to take that question further with whomever offline if I need to, if that's not clear enough.
Sure. Do we have any other questions today? Oh, we've got another one in the chat. Let's see. I think you're very welcome. So that's going to wrap us up for today. Thank you so much to everyone that joined us today. Again, make sure you join us next month for our accounting for payroll session, and hope you all have a great day.